And even though it's Michigan, we really have stuff from all over. It's actually become international at this point. Though we don't have any presentations that are international, we have participants that are international, so that's exciting. We do things every single day. Every day at 2, we have a workshop, and then on Thursdays we have one at 7. And they're from all kinds of areas of disability, different kinds of people coming from different places. It's a little bit of everything. And they're all free, and you're welcome to attend any of them. And if you put your email address in the chat, I will add you to the mailing list. Let's see. There's 2 people that I know are coming. So I hate to start before they get here, because they are really looking forward to you. There's somebody in 517. You want to add your name? You know how to change your name to your name? There's up in your right-hand corner, there are 3 little dots, and you can click on those, and then you can rename yourself to whatever you like.
Susan, I think that's a phone call because I don't see a video or mic for them. I think they're calling in.
Ah, okay, that could be. Yes, you're right. That must be it. Okay.
And then if everybody could mute themselves, that if you could mute yourself.
At the end of the performance, there will be a song called Back with a few actors or directors.
Okay, let's see.
Anthony Farrick needs to mute.
Okay. Well, I'm really pleased that we have a excellent speaker today. I've seen some of her videos, and I was really excited by what I saw. So that's part of the reason why we got her to come. So Joy Brady is a historian and a professor at the University of Delaware. She is also part of the Disability History Association, which I highly recommend people join if you're into American disability history. They have a blog, which she is actually the author of, and yes, it's called All of Us, and it's a great organization. I'm not a member at the moment, I must say, but I have to renew. I have been a member in the past. She has been deaf since the age of 4, and so her research has focused on how hearing loss has been historically viewed through both medical and popular culture, which obviously is very different from one another. Technology has a tremendous impact on the deaf population, whether they're fully deaf, whatever fully deaf actually means, or whether they just have a very slight hearing impairment. Technology has a major, major impact on your life. And that's a big part of what her research has been about. And she's published a number of books, including her latest one, which is called Hearing Happiness. And do you want to start with a bit of an introduction? You want me to for yourself, or do you want me to go straight into your video?
No, I'll just talk for a little bit, then we can start the video.
Okay.
So hi everyone. I thank you all for being here. There was a little bit of a scramble right at the beginning when we couldn't get the Zoom link. That happened with technology. I do see some familiar faces, so I'm very happy you joined me here today. And Susan mentioned a lot of my work focuses on technology. And what I'm really interested in is working on and thinking about the relationship that disabled people have with the technology and how it becomes the kind of a symbiotic relationship in which the disabled person relied on the technology, but the technology also helps shape the disabled person's interaction with the environment. So a lot of my work kind of works through that. Hearing happiness, and just a side note that I came up with the title after finding a series of advertisements with that slogan, hearing happiness, like your deaf way into succeeding in a hearing society. So I thought it kind of encapsulates a lot of the arguments that I make. And yeah, as Susan mentioned, the Disability History Association, the wonderful organization, we are kind of an academic community, but we do encourage members from all over, not just the United States, but all over the world to come join us as well, and then learn from each other. For the next couple of months, we actually have a blog special series on the ADA celebration, where we have lawyers, academics, community members, artists, all kind of sharing their own experiences regarding the ADA. So it's a wonderful read, and you should definitely check it out. And we, of course, encourage any of you to submit something as well. So I think that's kind of all I can say before we start the video. Okay.
Okay.
Susan, you might tell people that they should put things in the chat if they have questions. I'll monitor the chat.
Well, you just told them. Thank you. So I will share my screen. And there we go. Okay, come on. Can you guys see it? No, seeing black. What's wrong here? I am sharing the screen. Well, that's the beginning. I'll go back a bit. I can see that's not where it started.
In Newark, Delaware.
There we go.
Sitting in front of the green screen that is displaying a yellow tinted background.
We don't see it, Susan.
Oh, okay. All right. I have the screen shared. I have it there. Showing up now?
Yes.
And do full screen.
Dining room here in Newark, Delaware. Sitting in front of the green screen.
Here, and I'll back it up to the beginning.
Thank you for joining me today. I'm broadcasting from my dining room here in Newark, Delaware. Sitting in front of the green screen that is displaying a yellow tinted background of various hearing aids and plugs. And by the way, if you hear a strange clanking noise. That was my dog walking in front of the microphone. So let's pretend for a second that the video has been professionally edited by a sound mixer. So yeah, I'm David Birdie. I am a professor at the University of Delaware and a new author of the forthcoming book, Hearing Happiness, Japanese Cues in History, which you can order wherever books are sold. Now, this book has two aims. First, it tells the story of medical and technological intervention for deafness by chronicling the many ways in which people attempted to cure their own deafness and their loved ones. So, from herbal remedies ground into paste, animal fat dripped into the ear, to religious and cultural rituals like blessing, charm, and to mechanical and electric from the ear, as well as a host of surgical procedures. History of deafness cure is a very long history. There's also some puzzling stories in here too, like how in the 1920s, airplane diving was a very popular deafness cure fact. Second, perhaps more pointedly, this book pushes us to have crucial conversations about why our society insists on curing deafness, despite the fact that many deaf people live civic lives and may not want a cure. I ask us to consider what the cure means and the implications that this harmful stigma has on many deaf people, including myself. I was born to sick parents in a way. At the age of 4, I became seriously ill with meningitis that was initially misdiagnosed and dismissed as a case of flu. By the time I was hospitalized and received treatment, infection had ravaged my brain. I lost my hearing, my speech, mobility, and my eyesight was severely weakened, and I had to endure months of rehabilitation. Now, my parents, of course, were devastated. Through my illness and recovery, they were also faced with this new reality of raising a deaf child. And many helpful family members and friends offered their suggestions for tried and tested cures that they had learned from their ancestors. And I was also taken to different specialists for their own opinions, from India to be blood, and even in London to see an Australian gynecologist. They prescribed me with hearing aids. It wasn't until my family immigrated to Canada shortly before the Gulf War broke out that my parents learned about the deaf and hurting hearing children. And then I was educated in all of them required speech therapy. And then I was mainstream with hearing classmates. It was a long struggle. I was fighting to internalize ableism, especially because I used to really embarrassed whenever people asked, "What's your accent?" And then I would answer a combination of Kuwait and Canadian ones, refusing to reveal that my deaf voice was mixing there as well. Feeling exposed this way, you feel like I had failed. Failed past, hearing. My approach to get my own deafness changed in adulthood, when after spending years adjusting my analog hearing aid, including being able to talk on the telephone, and as well as making the decision to leave speech therapy, I was told by my hearing consultant that the digital hearing aid market had squashed the former analog technology. So what does this mean to me? Well, if my analog hearing aid broke, there was no one to fix it, so I had no other choice to make the shift toward digital hearing aid to decide whether I'm going to be implanted or cochlear implant. When I got my first pair of digital hearing aids, I was delighted about how speeches they were. But the trade-off meant that I didn't hear as well as I used to before. I didn't hear on the telephone, I could barely hear conversation around me. And my hearing aids
Susan,
Yeah,
frustration.
this is the wrong video.
the wrong video.
Yes.
I couldn't help but
Jai says it's the wrong video she sent
why are my choices now?
to
what
One with captioning.
stood for.
Okay.
Showing, you know,
I'll stop it.
Let's
See.
down to
Mystery Queen creation.
And when I read all these letters written by deaf people across the country, I saw my own story.
If I could do that.
So many advertisements, proposal, programs,
It's
all
not letting
pushing
me.
ultimate goal for deaf people. The hearing, like this
Okay. Stop it. Escape. Sorry about that. I'll see what I can do here.
So then, do I
Yeah.
have share screen control?
Yes, you do.
Okay, so why don't I try sharing the screen?
Sounds good. Okay. Are you still on the screen?
I am.
You're still on the screen, Susan. There you go.
There we go. Okay.
Jai, can you turn up the volume for those who need it?
She'll need to share her computer sound.
By the time I was hospitalized and in treatment, I got reading, I got hearing, speak, reading, eyesight. I'm a beautiful boy, which I'm seeing. My own also And the quad, because the idea was basically that you frame here, but it's not the diagonal. It's not the diagonal. It's the one frame simulate. So I think having it here. So the idea is complicated. Putting out facts. I wrote, you should have your devices. Okay. And
home. The electric components for them, the batteries that What is the future of hearing aid solutions?
Okay.
Wow, this is Elaine Kolb. Thank you so much, Jai. This is
Yeah,
this
sorry,
is
I'm very happy we got the technical issues resolved. So that no belief there.
well, that's part of it, isn't it? That's really the core of finding how we can all communicate and be understood. Bless you for your work. It is wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And, you know, while we were watching the video, I was texting with a friend about the problem with static interference coming from the laptop. And, you know, it just made me realize all the more what people talked about, like what deaf people talked about when they were complaining about clothing noise. So like when the microphone would rub against the clothes or when there was too much wind, you can't get that clear sound clarity. And that revealed a lot, I think, about what do we mean when we talk about experiences of sound, and that there isn't always a simple technological fix. So I just find it like quite remarkable. Yeah. You know, I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions. So feel free to use the chat or just, I guess, raise your hand if you can do that. Okay. So we have a question from Blake.
Hey, Jai, thanks so much for the presentation, which was fantastic. And your collection of photos is so remarkable. And the amount of work that must go into curating everything that you have, both for the presentation and for the book, which I'm very excited to read, is just awesome. It's you touched a lot in the presentation on the aesthetics of hearing aids, and I wondered if you might share some thoughts about what drives the aesthetics of hearing aids and other hearing technology. Is it market forces? Is it design sensibilities? Does law play a role? Does engineering play a role? Like how do you summarize what drives the themes that you highlight in your research? Thanks.
No, that's a fantastic question. What is the history of the design of hearing aid? I mean, when well, when electric hearing aids first came to the market, you know, they looked like telephone. They were large, they were bulky. Many of them were actually repurposed from telephone technology as well, especially the receiver and the speaker. But by the late 1930s, we kind of see a shift in hearing aid design when engineers and designers were taking input from deaf users, like from the clientele. And they were talking about how to make the actual technology itself beautiful. Like what kind of Art Deco features do we include? Do we change the shape or the size of the chassis? I mean, do we include different colors? People were really thinking about this. And that tells a lot about, I think, a sense of pride in this piece of technology. Like you want it to look beautiful, you want to show it off. But the marketing of it was still pushing to conceal it. So why have this absolutely beautiful piece of technology that you have to hide away in your clothing? And I think there's like this contradiction here as well. I mean, I have some hearing devices in my collection, you know, and I'm always marveled at how stunning they are. Like there's this kind of consciousness that went into designing a product that would be appealing for a variety of customers, but then knowing at the same time that no one really gets to see the beauty of it because it's always hidden. And I think that's like a kind of a strand of this history when we think about where disability design fits in and what the purpose of design is actually meant to convey. Yeah. Yeah, so I hope I answered your question there. Yeah. Yeah, great. Hi, Jillian.
Yes, hi. I'm so excited about your work. And you said something at the very beginning of your talk that I am really interested in, but I don't know if I got it right. But it was something like tech helps disabled people, but disabled people also help tech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did I catch that? And I love that. I love that because I'm saturated as a cyborg who wears a prosthetic in this note. Well, to non-disabled people, it's a prosthetic. To me, it's a real leg. Saturated in the notion that technology helps me, but I haven't ever heard before this notion that I am helping the technology, and I'm super interested in that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I approach when I look at disability technology, specifically in hearing aids, is whether there's a kind of symbiotic relationship between the user and the technology, and how that relationship kind of affects the development. So, for example, I can give you my own personal experience. I wore analog hearing aids pretty much since age 6 or 7 until my mid-30s. And one of the things that I adjusted to wearing these analog hearing aids is knowing how to take it apart. Like learning, you know, to take little tools and opening it and playing with the electrical components inside, but also knowing how to do the repairs, for example. And wearing this technology also made me very consciously aware of my own bodily presentation. So I knew, for example, I had to have my hair up whenever I was playing sports because otherwise you would have like hair interference with the technology. I also knew in some cases that I would be limited in participating if I didn't have my technology at a certain volume or like have the telecoil switch on or something. So I think there's more to explore here about how users influence the development of technology, but also how the everyday wearing and using and maintaining of the technology also influences the way a disabled person interacts with the society. I mean, we can think about this in terms of prosthetics, in wheelchair, canes, etc. I think there's many ways we can do this. Yeah. Great.
Hi, this is Susan. I've got a question or observation. I'm not sure what it is exactly. I was looking, I need new hearing aids, and I went and said, okay, what's new with hearing aids? And the newest thing with hearing aids now is that you can put them in a automatic battery recharger overnight, so that you can recharge your batteries. And I said, well, why do people do that? And she said, well, that you don't wear your hearing aid at night. And I said, you don't? And she says, do you wear your hearing aid at night? And I said, yeah. I said, what happens if there's a sound in the middle of the night? I said, I won't hear it. I need my hearing aid at night. I'm not going to take my hearing aid out at night. So I have now become curious whether this is an odd thing that I mean, have they created a technology that deaf people aren't actually going to use? Or am I a minority in that I keep my hearing aid in at night?
Yeah, no. I like how you begin this idea about what new with hearing aids. Like, we care so much about the latest technology, but this idea of rechargeable batteries actually isn't new. As early as 1910, deaf people were thinking, well, batteries are very expensive to continue replacing. How do we make batteries last so we don't have to continue recharging them or spending the money to buy new ones? But this idea of wearing hearing aids at night, it seems to put forward this idea that while I have a hearing aid, it allows me to hear. Why would I want to stop that, right? And I think it's really a personal preference here as well. I mean, I can't sleep with my hearing aids, partly because they're heavy, and if I lie on my side, they release that feedback, which just annoys my husband who's hearing, actually. So that's not going to work. But what ends up happening is that I find that over the years, I become much more sensitive to external sound. So I know, for example, when my dog walks across my room, because I can feel the vibration of the little feet. I know when my husband enters the room, even after I've gone to sleep. But I think maybe there's also this fear that we're so vulnerable when we're sleeping. Like, you want to be aware that your safety is still guaranteed. Of course, that you go to sleep, you're not going to like miss a fire alarm or something like that, or somebody knocking on your door. Okay. So, Elaine wrote, my partner Patty had very powerful hearing aids. She could sleep while I was running the vacuum cleaner near her. But that's actually quite on. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we have any other questions?
Well, somebody posted a note that they had the same problem when analog switched to did digital. I don't think I ever had analog hearing aids. I think I've only had digital. So I'm curious what that change was.
Well, analog hearing aids started to be replaced by digital hearing aids as early as 1983. So what analog hearing aids do is they just make things louder. You just turn on the volume and it just takes in the sound, and that's basically it. Digital hearing aids rely on a microprocessor so that it takes sound and it kind of filters it through the microprocessors to be adjusted for clarity, sound, ambience, and things like that. But with analog hearing aids, there's like a learning process, I think. So if you've worn analog hearing aids, as I did for over 25 years, your brain becomes accustomed to hearing a certain way. Digital hearing aids requires relearning that, relearning where sounds are coming from, relearning speech, and relearning auditory cues as well. So, for example, when I first got digital hearing aids, I could no longer hear the person speaking right next to me, but I could hear a conversation like 5 feet, 6 feet away. I couldn't hear my student sitting in front of me in the classroom, but I could hear next door if the professor was playing a video on the computer. So it was a learning process in which my brain had to adjust to filtering out certain sounds and learning how to just kind of deal with what was literally in front of me, because I can't hear behind me anymore. So when I talk about hearing aids and disabled people when I talk about technology and disabled people working hand in hand, so to speak, I also talk about the kind of bodily adjustment that we made. So with analog hearing aids, I knew that if I wanted to focus on a speaker, I have to adjust my body. and block out the sound from behind that I didn't want to hear because they'd just be kind of hitting in my head and I could just focus on the speaker. I can't do the same thing with digital hearing aids because sound is coming from all over. So it's just a matter of trying to focus as much as I can, which, as you can imagine, can be incredibly draining after a long day of listening and participating in conversation.
Elaine, you want to say something?
Yes, this is really a wonderful coming together, because the improvement of inclusion among people with disabilities is one of the great challenges that we have. And my experience has been, as a hearing person, with a number of people who have multiple disabilities, including significant hearing loss. And significant hearing loss combined with neurological functional issues, making actually doing and using sign language difficult, if not almost impossible. The combination of disabilities is something that is extremely complicated for a lot of people. And it's been something I've observed with two partners whose hearing loss became more and more profound. And as a result, having any kind of conversation, even in small groups, became extremely difficult and impossible in crowded situations. And so I think for all of us, we have so much to learn and so much to share. And Jai, you are just wonderful. And you bring to this big table a way that we can all join together. And some of the new technology makes it possible for people to have things beamed right directly into their hearing aids. And that's still not being used as extensively as it needs to be.
That doesn't work.
Sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it does. But, you know, it's like we have such a long ways to go. But
yeah, definitely, I think so. Thank you for that, Elaine. And I think your comment also applies to the question that Emily had in the chat about the book writing process. I mean, Emily asked that in a world in which technology is ever evolving, did you find yourself thinking ahead to what might change and what new queer narratives might come up? And one of the interesting things is, right when I finished this book, right? I mean, I spent years writing this book. I finally feel like I've gotten to the point where it's ready to be released. Then we have the news that there are new versions of genetic engineering for deaf people. And it's like, well, of course there would be, because what's the next frontier of a cure? What's the latest, newest advancements in technology? Well, CRISPR gene editing, like to deal with deafness before this kid is even born. But I think it's the same kind of long process about queer narrative and deafness, and this concept that deafness is always going to be perceived by most of society as something that needs to be fixed. And this rhetoric that if we fix this, right, rather than recognizing that there is a variety of experiences with deafness and hearing, as Elaine talks about, then we have somehow mastered medicine and science and technology, and we can like move on to the human evolutionary ladder. And I think it just but as a historian, seeing these stories come out, I'm seeing the same old story. Like nothing really changed. The technology might be different, but the queer narrative is still exactly the same. So yes, thank you for that question, Emily, because yeah, it was very frustrating. I kind of wanted to take my book back and write another chapter on this, but you know, I just at the same time I just wanted to move on and do other things. So, yeah.
Blake has written, congratulations on the book. Everyone should pre-order.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So have we reached 3 o'clock now? Yes. Yeah.
Anyone have any more questions? This is your opportunity. Everybody's got the floor. Well, I thank you as a person who's never used analog hearing aids. Now I know why, because amplifying sound actually never does any good for me. So digital hearing aids is the only thing that would have helped me. So I learned something I didn't expect, and I'm sure others did too. So, and I love all the photographs you have collected. They're just